Uncensored, no holds barred talk. 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. This is Global Reality Radio Network.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another live edition of the Global Reality right here on the Global Reality Radio Network. I'm your host, Josh Reeves. Thanks for being with us here tonight for yet another late night Moonbat edition of the broadcast. We're going to be getting into a whole bunch of insane news tonight, and there's just a ton of it. Haven't been on the air. We only got to do a few shows last week. I don't know what the hell was going on. I don't know whether or not we're officially chalking this up to these staged cyber attacks that are going on. I don't know what we want to make account for all this stuff, but at this point there's some craziness going on. And last week we received some letters from our server that runs our streams that their server company had been under denial of service attack. Now, we hadn't had this problem before, and supposedly we had redundancy, and we do have redundancy on our servers where if one goes down or one goes under attack, then the other one stays up so that we don't have any outages. But that's weird. Weird sound drop there. But supposedly, well, the story is that the attack was so massive that it affected all the servers for the server company that we use. So, man, oh man, oh man. And then there was one night, I think, where there were some problems with the websites, I believe, as well. One night last week, or a couple of nights last week, where people couldn't even get to the website. It was just it was insane, and that really did. When that happens like that, and it happens less now than it did after we switched server companies a few months ago. We pay more a month for the servers, but we get that redundancy. But apparently, all of their server systems were down, so that's what we had that problem. That continued on into the weekend as well. We had some problems over the weekend, so I was going to do some shows over the weekend to make up for it, and we didn't get anything. Every time I'd get ready to go do a show, the music would play fine and everything, and it'd play for a few hours on end and be fine, and then it would just die, and the encoder wouldn't start back up. But everything seems to be running tip top now, so we're here with you tonight for another Monday night edition of the broadcast. Glad you could join us. We're also going to be reading, as we always do, some listener emails. I got to go through the stack. I think I've got quite a few that have piled up I need to read from and address and talk about tonight. So glad you could be with us. This network, where the broadcast originates from, is www.theglobalreality.com. It's www.theglobalreality.com. It's all things Josh Reeves up there at that website. All things that relate to everything I do, from the films to the music to the radio shows, and all sorts of analysis and different shows. Just a wealth of material up there from years and years of shows that we've done here, and different things and different elements and aspects, and sort of the progression of my own growth, and the progression of my own enlightenment and progression of my own. It's that's really what this show is more than anything else. I don't pretend to ever get up here and try to tell you I have all the answers. I mean, I certainly do not have all the answers, but I also think that I also have too much information, too much knowledge from looking at this stuff every day for, I think I'm coming up on I read Crossfire, Jim Marsh Crossfire, I think 91, 92. So yeah, right at 20 years, I'm 34. I'm right at 20 years. I've been researching this stuff. That's a lot of info, especially the way my brain collects things, to not, have a platform for it. That was originally why I started the show in the first place in 2007, and it continues to be the reason why I do it now, because, because I have the ability to remember things that I just have. The way my mind works, I just have this ability to be able to remember little tidbits and little things. And boy, that comes in handy oftentimes when you're researching stuff, because, you'll find a piece of information and you'll go, well, way back in such and such time, I read this. And if that's true, then it makes this even more crazy. That's how it comes. That's how it goes. So I try to get up here every day and document that, because every day it's a new experience for me, as far as, something new uncovering, or my paradigm changing on stuff. I mean, right now I'm very, I'd say confused is a harsh word. I'm not confused really about anything, but dismayed, I think, is more of an appropriate word. I'm sort of dismayed right now at some of the stuff that's going on. We'll talk about it here tonight on the show. Some of the stuff that's going around, some of the stuff things that people are saying about. We talked about it a little bit, I guess, on the last show. I think last week we did address this a bit, discussing the comet Elenin. Boy, the conspiracy culture is just afire with rumors and just everything, thinking this comet Elenin thing is the real deal, is Nibiru, is the famed Planet X. And people are freaking out, screaming red alert, saying head for the bunkers, because it's coming in October 2011. Fuck 2012. They're saying this shit's coming, October 2011. It's running amok. People are going crazy with it. And, I've always been one of those people that's sort of been more on the fence on that issue. I've always felt like it was a red herring. My research into this other planet on the other side of Venus called Vulcan that we never were told about. This very well could be what that is. Because Vulcan is said to be, exist on the other side of Venus, and it's obscure where we can't see it by the sun. And, it very well could be that it is this Vulcan thing, but I don't know. There's a lot of evidence. There's a lot of stuff that's going around. We'll get into that, talk a bit about some of it tonight. I have to say, though, it's very important, and I said this at the beginning of the year broadcast. I think 2010 and 2011, for sure. 2011, I said it, but everybody needs to have their discernment meters on heavy right now. They're running all sorts of disinfo and cross info, and they're doing things like running the History Channel shows on that we've talked about ancient aliens and all this stuff, and then coinciding that with stuff like this new book or something that this woman has coming out saying that Area 51 was never used for extraterrestrials, blah blah blah. That's all bullshit. So you see how we have this mass amount of what can only be termed cognitive dissonance going on in every level, from the mainstream to the underground, to alternative media to mainstream media. You have a massive cognitive dissonance going on. So you get people confused. You just get them not knowing what to believe, right? And that's happening right now, left and right, everywhere. Pushing the alien agenda, but at the same time, making ridiculous claims like, oh well, we never did anything with extraterrestrials at Area 51, blah, blah, blah. Left and right, this stuff's coming out. So my caution still stands. My word of caution still stands on the fact that I think that we all need to be very, very careful of not only what we believe, but also what we dismiss. Very important, I think, right now that we all be very careful, including myself. I'm trying to do that as well, of what, not only what we believe, but also what we dismiss. Because there are so many crazy things happening right now, that stuff that a couple of years ago might have seemed, like horse shit to you, you may start to see evidence that those things you thought were completely, outlandish and crazy conspiracy theories in no way could be true. Those of you who've been listening to the broadcast we've been doing over the past several months, we're coming very close to the conclusion of William Bramley's The Gods of Eden. It's been it's been a spectacular read, and I think I've had a spectacular time reading it with you. It's just really I've learned a lot. I know you learned a lot as well. We're going to be going on and moving on and reading The Lost Book of Enki by Zachariah Sitchin next. Not because I'm a Sitchin fan, but because I'm not a Sitchin fan, and because for the same reasons I told you that I've been reluctant about this Nibiru stuff, even though I'm a supporter of ancient astronaut theory and the Sumerian stuff and extraterrestrials seeding mankind with mythologies and genetic crossbreeding, believe in all that. But I've always felt like the Nibiru thing was a red herring. So that's what we're going to do next after we get done with Bramley. But those of you who've been following this reading can tell that what we've seen the most in these from these different operations that these custodial races have executed on mankind, one of the things we've seen consistently is this idea of cognitive dissonance, Machiavellianism, all of this stuff. So that's the that's the big thing that I'm looking at here in all of this, is this idea that they get us believing that, again, 2012 is the end of the world, instead of 2012 is, the ascension, that kind of thing, Because what's interesting about this, and I wasn't gonna get into this yet, but but I guess I will, even though I haven't really even properly introed the show yet. But fuck it, I wasn't ready to dive off into topics. I just got it on my mind, This I was looking at this Comet Elenin thing and kept looking at it, research it, because people, I don't know if you guys have noticed this or not, but literally, I mean, message boards, websites, people are on fire right now, and there's a lot of people running around believing, and I'm not saying it's not true either, but I'm just saying, I'm just trying to look at this with caution and look at all the factors before we make it form an opinion on what this may be. But people are on fire about this, man. People just running around left and right believing this is it. This is the Nibiru. This is the destroyer. This is the return, And one of the things in all of this stuff that I've ever researched on this 2012 stuff and Nibiru stuff, one of the only constant thing that I've found that's 100% provable that is going to happen on December 21st, 2012. The one absolute provable beyond any shadow of a doubt thing, because this goes back, the Freemasons have known about this, which means the Egyptians knew about it, which means, the Phoenicians and the Babylonians and the Akkadians and the Sumerians, they all knew about it as well. And that is, of course, galactic alignment. Now, that is the one thing about all of this stuff, whether you believe, 2012 is going to be ascension, or whether or not you believe it's going to be Armageddon and, basically the book of Revelations come to fruition. Regardless of that, it's just very interesting that you would see this playing out in this manner. So this Comet Elenin thing, everybody's looking at it, blah, 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 everybody's on fire believing it's this. And one of the things that I thought was interesting was this idea that when it comes close, basically what it's going to do, they're saying that the Comet Elenin is already what's caused the earthquakes in. That's why I'm saying I don't think this is Nibiru. This thing fits more of the modus operandi for what we've seen for this thing Vulcan, this planet Vulcan on the other side of Venus. But they're saying apparently that Earth's going to slam through like its tail or something. And it's going to basically blast the Earth with particles. Well, we know, going back to many ancient megalithic sites, there's one in Turkey where they found this massive sprawling underground city. They don't know, what they used it for. And there's that documentary called the Cygnus Mystery, where they talk about, those. I think it's Mohenjo-Daro, maybe. I think it's Mohenjo-Daro. Could be wrong about that, but I believe it is Mohenjo-Daro. But they talk about they were going inside because the Earth at that time, and that was the time of galactic alignment. That was my whole point. was the Earth was just bombarded with these particles. And it said that those particles caused rapid evolution in humankind. And I was starting to think, well, wow. You know, the Earth slamming into the tail of this comet and causing catastrophic changes on the Earth and bombarding us with these photons. This could be meant to be. This could be supposed to happen. This could very well be what has been predicted, and not the end of the world, but the end of the known world. And these photons rapidly changing human DNA and causing us to evolve at a very rapid rate could actually be 12-strand DNA activation. But what are these clowns going to do? They'll either tell people about it and they'll, probably go fire space-based weapons and nuclear missiles and everything at it. Or they won't tell anybody about it and they'll just let the effects happen, if any, and then they'll tell everybody in the world it was one thing while it was another. I don't know, but the whole interesting thing about this is that when these effects are said to happen from the comet Ellen, they are in alignment. They are in the exact alignment that the planets form during galactic alignment. And it said that there's been a couple of times that this alignment has happened when it's passed by Earth, and this is what's caused the most recent cataclysmic earthquakes like Japan. So my whole point is that while I've never been really a big pusher of the whole Nibiru theory. Still think it's a red herring. The idea that there is something that happens in cyclical natures, but not necessarily just on 2012 or part of some much bigger thing that happens. The evidence is certainly there. So I again, I implore you to form your own opinions about this stuff. And I was talking about this with some friends tonight. Always be prepared. I think you owe it to yourself and you owe it to your family. I mean, you wouldn't have come this far to the point where you're listening to my show right now if you just wanted to roll over and die. Now, would you? You didn't go through all the shit you've gone through in your life to get to the point where you are right now, to be here today, June 13th into the 14th, 2011. You didn't come this far in your life just to roll over and die at the last minute, do you? Or, die because of some stupid thing like, not having something to eat or having enough water or something, which are things that you could totally plan ahead and not have to worry about. And so, that's my whole thing is I think that everybody owes it to themselves to just, you don't have to go crazy and go in the bug out bunker and do all that shit. But there are people now that are saying, head for high ground, leave the coast, blah, 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 blah. And I have to see some pretty strong evidence to get up here and yell and scream that to you guys, honestly, But my thing is that, again, you don't have to operate in extremes. That's what the patriot paradigm and the fear paradigm of the half-truth movement, that's what they rely on. It's imbalanced. It's just, give me the information. Give me the truth. Give me the information. But don't give me the fear. Don't give me the slant. Don't give me the spin. That's a big problem. But none of you came this far not to be prepared. So, just do little things. Going to the dollar store. Next time you have an extra $100 or save up $100 or go, sell some useless junk in your house you don't need and go get $100 and go down to the dollar store and buy stuff like canned hams. Those motherfuckers have a shelf life, 7 or 8 years. You can buy all kinds of stuff at the dollar store. You can buy enough stuff for $100, toilet paper, things like that, just necessity things, and just store it in a box, store it away, get stuff that has a long shelf life, stuff that's not going to go bad, the flashlights, things like that. And you know what? That's all you got to do. And I guarantee you that as long as you have yourself some water and some food and some stuff like that, you're going to be able to ride out what happens. But again, I'm not one of those people that tells everybody flip out and crazy and get in your bunkers and buy storable foods. And I don't have, I could make a fuck ton of money. I could make so much money. I wouldn't have to, sometimes have days, where I wonder where I'm going to have money to eat dinner or not, like today and stuff. But, I can make so much money selling survival stuff because, this information freaks people out. And there's a lot of money in fear, but there's zero money in not putting out any fear. But I'd rather go to sleep at night knowing that I don't put people in a state of fear every time they turn on the radio and listen to my voice. Fear is not going to get us anywhere. It's not going to solve any of the problems that we have. Being scared of this stuff is not going to be in a panic and a freak out mode, that imbalance. Anytime we have problems of any nature or any sort in our lives, it comes from a cause of imbalance where, something's knocked off. Your balance is knocked off, and so you're dealing in extremes. Too much of something, not enough of something else. That's right. That's right where they want us. Everything that you look at says that's exactly where they want us, and they try to keep us there, isn't it? They do not want us balanced. They want to keep themselves balanced and keep everybody else off balance so they can maintain the upper hand. And when you start to turn the mechanisms of your mind and make them turn a different way, and what I mean by that is instead of make them turn that way of going automatically towards fear or panic, or any of those other really, low-level fight or flight type of animal instinct things, when you start to see beyond that and change your mind where you're as soon as you hear about something like, one of these insane fucking news stories we've got here tonight, you don't freak out and panic and go, oh my God. You just, you're able to process it in a better way and then start to think about, what the implications of that are. So we've got, we got a ton of news here tonight. We're also going to continue reading from William Bramley's The Gods of Eden, chapter 39, Escape from Eden. So that should be a good read, as it always has been. Love to have your emails as well. globalrealityshow@gmail.com. That's globalrealityshow@gmail.com. Again, my website's theglobalreality.com. Love to have your emails tonight. I read those on the show. Got questions, you've got comments, you got something you want me to talk about, that's where you send it, globalrealityshow@gmail.com. And as I mentioned earlier, we had those outages last week from the denial of service attacks that just wreaked havoc on everything that we do. It wreaks havoc on our productivity, what we're able to get done, because I'm not able to get up here and tell you, when we need your support or when we need help or anything else, and have to resort to using the chat room. And then not everybody that listens to our show goes in the chat room. So yeah, it sucks. So just support us if you can. We need the chip and ban and the donate button there. We're kind of low on stuff. We had a bill from a website come out of our account. It kind of zapped us. So chip and banner's there if you want to use that. Donate button for larger amounts. If you want to help us grow and help us buy new equipment and buy new computers from our aged ones that we've had since 2008, whatever you want to do, the donate button is there. We do need the extra support right now. Would like to get some new equipment in here to get just get everything fresh and new and kicked off to a good start since I've come back from my little hiatus. Could use a little kickstart right now. So use the donate button there if you want to help us out. Let's see what kind of emails we have. Boy, I got a bunch. Says, hi, Josh. I enjoy your shows. I have a question for you. I have some concerns about the book, The Gods of Eden. Jim Keith on Gods of Eden and Scientology in general. I have a lot of interest and respect for the theory that ancient aliens have been here and still are here, though as to whether they are ETs or crypto-terrestrials or something else is an open question. Just have a lot of respect for Keith, too, and have some trouble with this issue. Hope you don't promote the book so much that it skews your view on the issue. Thanks, Ted. Well, I'm not promoting the book. Let me make that straight. First off, my intentions for reading this book have never been to promote it. I read this book on air because a friend asked me to. One of our listeners, Nick, who books a lot of guests for us and stuff here. I've known Nick for, 2, 3, 4 years now since I've been doing the show. He's been following the show for a long time. He asked me to read on the show, so I did. I know that blows some people's minds, because that's how I work, but that's how I roll. If you ask me to do something, if I'm down with it and cool with it, I'll do it, to the best of my ability. And that's how this started, with me reading this book, The Gods of Eden. So I never sought out to promote this book, and I had Bramley on And I didn't, it wasn't as an attempt to promote him or anything else either, but it was just an attempt to, again, if you want to make an accusation against somebody or say something about somebody, bring the evidence. But oftentimes, let's also not just dismiss something and not look at the evidence that's there. Now, I'm familiar with Jim Keith. I'm familiar with a lot of his work. I've got to say, I've disagreed with a lot of stuff Jim Keith has said too, and it seems like that there was an agenda behind certain things that he talked about. I can't remember specifically off the top of my head what they were, but there was a few things I heard Jim Keith talk about that I kind of disagreed with. But I will say this: I just, in my research, cannot see a connection between what William Bramley talks about in the Gods of Eden and Scientology. I can't see the connection. I know Jim Keith accused William Bramley of being a Scientologist. Whether he is or not, I don't know. I asked him if he was a member of any secret societies or anything like that when he was on the show, and he said no. I believed him from his tone and his voice. He didn't sound like he was lying. And my thing is, I've researched Scientology. I've researched everything you can dream about concerning Samaria and all the rest of the stuff, ancient aliens. But the story of Scientology and Xenu and, trapping the souls here on Earth, that, from what I've read, doesn't coincide and really work in with, the, ancient Sumerians and the Anunnaki and that kind of stuff. It doesn't, it's sort of two different stories. So if the problem with William Bramley's Gods of Eden book is he's a Scientologist, then, why you would have a problem with that is confusing to me, because the ideas and things that he puts forward in the Gods of Eden don't coincide with the beliefs in the mythology of Scientology at all. None whatsoever. And vice versa. There's not Xenu in, the Sumerian lore and all that stuff. So that's my take on it. You asked me the question, and that's my honest answer. He very well could be a Scientologist. But again, like I said, I fail to see the connection between the belief system of Scientology and the beliefs and the ideas that he's putting forward in the book. The idea of the book is that, and what he said on my show when I interviewed him, was that the whole reason that he started researching those topics in the first place is because he was trying to find the source for war. Where does war originate from? And, sort of as we've all found, no matter what avenue you're coming at this from, he came at it from the avenue of wanting to track down where war originated from. He came into all this, trying to figure out who are the people that pull off things like 9/11 or something like that, or Waco, if you're woke up, back in the 90s or something. But however you got into this, JFK or UFOs or whatever else, however you got into this, what's interesting is that when you pursue your specific pet topic that you've chosen to be, your sort of thing you're going to, champion and research, isn't it interesting that no matter how we all get into this, we all wind up at the same place, don't we? We find the phony money system. We find the international bankers. We find, and then you've got this, over the past, couple of decades now, you have the rise of this new phony truth patriot movement where they're to make sure that you think that that's all there is. But then when you've really done your own research, you don't get caught up in the games of these gatekeepers like Alex Jones and others. You then start to find, here's the religious end of it. And then you find the secret societies, and you find how it all interconnects. So it's just so fascinating that no matter what avenue you come at this from, you come back to the same thing. So I think that personally, I think Bramley's book's probably been demonized. I think people have tried to use the Jim Keith said he was a Scientologist, so I can't trust his book. Well, the whole thing about it is that's probably one of the few books out there that's been written. That actually named the Jesuits and named the Knights of Malta and showed how that connects it. And that's a big time no-no for these mainstream truthers like Alex Jones who are connected to those groups. I mean, my God. So yeah, I think I think it's weak. And I think the point of whether or not he's a Scientologist or not has little to do with the content of the book, the Gods of Eden. I mean, the story of Xenu and, the Thetans and all that bullshit that L. Ron Hubbard created and concocted out of nowhere. He admitted it was horseshit. You want to make a bunch of money real quick? Start a religion. That was a direct quote from L. Ron Hubbard. He was an initiate of Crowley. And one of the things Crowley taught, if you ever studied Crowley, you'd know this. But one of the things that Crowley taught was he was an expert trickster. Nobody ever will ever know how much power Aleister Crowley truly had. But I'll tell you this, he had a whole lot more power than people think that he did. But then again, did he? Because see, he was a trickster. He liked to get, he liked to build up the mythology around himself. That's what these guys teach in the initiated degrees of the Ordo Templi Orientis, the OTO, the Lima. That comes along with part of being a magi, is being an illusionist. That's one of the things you learn. You learn how to be an illusionist. So that is certainly what they've continued to do today. And that's what L. Ron Hubbard did. And so he created this, Scientology thing. But it has, from all my years of research, I have found no correlations between what is talked about in, ancient Sumerian text and what is in the religion of Scientology. So again, I just think that's a weak connection there, but thank you for your email there, sir. Let me see what else we have. This one says, hey, Josh, I've been listening to your shows for a few weeks. I found your show after typing Alex Jones fraud on YouTube. Well, thank you. And finding the TGRFP channel. I used to be an Alex Jones Kool-Aid drinker, but it was just something about him that rubbed me the wrong way, and I got tired of hearing about the world ending and blah, blah, blah every day. I also found that AJ was full of crap, and most of his guests were full of crap. Anyways, you may have talked about this before, but what do you think of AJ proteges like Luke Radowski, Mark Dice, and Bob Chapman? Alex, also, Jones props up the Bilderberg Group as the true power structure with his dog and pony show, when in my research, it goes much deeper than the Bilderbergers. So in your opinion, how powerful are they really? Well, thank you, Robert, for your email there, my friend, and glad you found our show. Let me go back up through your email and try to answer all these questions. It says, what do you think of AJ proteges like Luke Ranowski, Mark Dice, and Bob Chapman? 1, 2, 3. Luke Ranowski, Mark Dice, Bob Chapman. 1, 2, 3. Clowns, all of them. I don't know how I can't really say it. Clowns, one and all. Oh, yeah. Radowski, I interviewed Radowski actually back in 2007 when I first started. Dog, gonna fight the New World Order, dog, yo, dog, yo, dog. I wanted to go, dog, you're white. I mean, he put the pressure on We Are Change to take my videos down. You guys remember that? Yeah, he's a Jones minion, man. And Jones bought and paid for that kid. He started out legit, and then got bought out by Jones Corps. Mark Dice is a full blown priest class sucker of Satan's cock all the way home. I think that guy's probably more high level than any of us know. He's put out there in the Truth Patriot movement, like, it's Mark Dice, some clown, No. That guy's got deep connections, man. Deep connections. I wouldn't doubt if he's agency. He's agency at minimum. He's probably Knights of Malta at most. But he's been on Fox News. He's first came out as Mark Connor, as in, or John Connor, rather. John, the guy has never given his real name. Another thing, and I'm sorry, man. I'm sorry those of you out there that, are on Truth Radio and all this stuff and use fake names. I just, I have no respect for that at all. Because we need to know who you are. Going out there using your fake name and all that shit. I mean, no. We'll tell people who you are. But this guy first came out as John Connor, then changed his name to Mark Dice. He had that stage thing with Danny Bonaducci that time where, he'd asked Danny Bonaducci about 9/11. He got butthurt and blah, blah, blah. That whole thing was staged, we know. Because Danny Bonaducci and as well as Mark Dice both go to the same Roman Catholic Church in L.A. And there's a cardinal out there who the Sheens go to and who Jones goes to when he goes out there to visit Charlie Sheen in L.A. Yeah. He's been connected with that. There was also that picture of Jones in drag that Mark Dice had when his show first came on GCN when he was still John Connor. Bob Chapman. I mean, my God, what more do I need to say about that guy? Luke Radowski, he's just he's just a guy who got wrapped up in, Jones is, paying for his, paying his rent and giving him, buying him all kinds of cameras, just sugar daddying him up. I think he's just a good kid that got wrapped up in some bad shit, but, I don't have anything against him, but he hates my guts, but that's cool. Mark Dice, sucker of Satan's cock all the way. Bob Chapman, I think Bob Chapman's just a huckster. I think he's just in it to make a buck, and he's, found Alex Jones to be an effective conduit if he says the things that Alex Jones wants him to say. And you don't get on the Alex Jones show unless it's guaranteed, beyond a shadow of a doubt, you're going to say what he wants you to say. Alex Jones also props up the Bilderberg Group as the true power structure with his dog and pony show. When in my research, it goes much deeper than the Bilderbergs. Well, so in your opinion, how powerful are they really? Well, they are indeed powerful, but they're still no different than Barack Obama or anybody else. We have this idea that Barack Obama is somehow subservient to the Bilderberg Group and they're the real power. But that's not actually true. Those guys are still the low-level minions for a much higher power structure that, as it gets higher and higher up the chain, gets smaller and smaller in the number of people that are involved in it. You guys start getting into things like Order of the Garter and the Council of 13 and Club of Rome and stuff like that, real high-level Illuminati-type groups. I don't think that it's been overstressed, the importance of the Bilderberg Group and how much power they've had and what they discuss. And I think covering it is definitely important. But at the same time, this idea that's been propagated that they are it, you need look no further. Again, anytime anybody ever tells you, you need to look no further, you have to understand that that's, be wary of that. So I think that, there are levels way beyond the Bilderbergers. Again, those guys are indeed powerful, are at the top, of everything they do, heads of industry, heads of state. Yes, they are. But again, they're there representing, and they're basically the representatives for the much higher power structure whose names we will never know, whose meetings we will never hear tales about or ever know that even take place, but happen every day. That's the long and the short of it, man. That's the truth. That's what I've found in my 20 years of research now. Let's see what else we have here in the emails. It says, firstly, condolences for the recent losses in your family. I can only extend my sympathies and thank you for your continued dedication to your work. Well, it's my pleasure. Gotta keep on trucking, man. One thing I've been curious about for a while, your opinions on Eric John Phelps. On one hand, his research on the Jesuit order seemed to parallel some of your own work, but I found his personal views and religious zeal unusual and personally quite distasteful. Yeah, me too. Absolutely, guys. I mean, the guy, And that's why I'm reluctant to say anything negative about the guy because, I want to be clear about this. I don't hate the guy. I'm not a fan of him. He is I believe, and I hate to say anything derogatory about the guy because, he has, like I said, he has put out some good research, but I'm just telling people to be wary of him. I don't endorse his work and I don't, but at the same time, there is a lot of stuff that he is 100% correct about when it comes to the Knights of Malta and it comes to the CMP and Jesuits and stuff like that. I've been hard pressed to find very much stuff with his I disagree with. But as you mentioned here, it's ideologically. I mean, the guy, you listen to him talking with some of these Red Ice interviews I played here on the show before, and he sounds like a total Nazi, talking about setting up segregated states, black people in one state in the Union and white people in another state. I mean, he literally said that on Red Ice Radio one time. I mean, just total, white supremacist talk. And I think that that's just indicative of, and, he's supposedly he just tells everybody he's a Zionist and he sells Israeli diamonds, again, a lot of his research, if you just don't look at him, a lot of his research into the Jesuits and the CMP and all that stuff is, I can't contest any of it. I can't bring contrary information to argue with it. So his information is a great resource in that. I just wouldn't, I wouldn't go joining up any fan clubs with him. You know what I mean? But he has posted my film, so he probably feels the same way about me. He probably disagrees with me ideologically, probably doesn't have anything against me as a person. Same as I don't have anything against him as a person. I just can't get down with that, what sounds to me like white supremacist talk. I could be completely wrong about that, but for me, when somebody says, let's take one state over here and put black people in it and take another state over here and put just white people in it, I can't get down with that at all. I'm non-negotiable. I mean, I would fight against that to the death. I mean, it's just sick and disgusting idea. And so for that, I can't really support Phelps. But again, I don't really want to say anything about his work. To me, that's the whole thing. Who cares, really? I mean, if he starts doing things that's the whole thing is, if he starts putting out information that is just bad and wrong, then yeah, don't get down with that. But that's the whole thing is they put out these guys who are easy to discredit because of their beliefs. So it's not the information that discredits them, it's their beliefs. I mean, if you look at it, that's one of the main things that discredits Alex Jones is the fact that he called, I'm a Christian and I believe I'm a good Christian. That discredits him immediately. Because anybody who's really done their research on this would know that Christianity has been this creation of the master custodians who set us up and set up religion and all this stuff, and would be trying to out that and talk about it. But that's self-explanatory because we know that the people that he's working for and the people he's connected to are the ones that are keeping this from us. So there you go. I hope that answers your question. Getting weird static in my headphones tonight. But I'm parched. I've been going 42 minutes here. We're going to take a break. And after we get back from the break, we're going to get into some news tonight. We also will be reading from William Bramley's Gods of Eden, chapter 39. Brew some coffee and stay up late with us. Back here with you on the Global Reality, right here on the Global Reality Radio Network. I'm your host, Josh Reeves. Thanks for being with us tonight for another late night Moonbat edition of the broadcast. And we're going to get into some news in this segment of the show. And then we'll come back and continue reading from William Bramley's Gods of Eden tonight, chapter 39. Getting close to the end of the book here. Escape from Eden. And so we'll continue Escape from Eden. That is where we left off, isn't it? Isn't that where we left off? Yeah, it is. Yeah, because we finished that incredibly long fucking chapter last time, finally. So, yeah, I'll get into the end of this. But, yeah, we're going to read The Lost Book of Enki next. So that should be interesting. I thought with everything that's going on, we'd get into that. But, so we're going to dive into news here in this segment. Again, my website is www.theglobalreality.com. It's www.theglobalreality.com. All my links to all my documentary films up there and everything else are there. Also, the website for my band, The Demigods, www.thedemigodsmusic.com. That's thedemigodsmusic.com. You can get everything up there, music and show dates, all that stuff. It's up there at the website. And also, again, please support our work if you can right now, folks. We got, thanks to those who have sent donations recently. I appreciate you guys so much. Keeping us alive. But yeah, it just last week with all the denial of service attacks and all that shit, it just hurt our support last week. I think we would have been okay had we been, had shows every day last week when I wanted to do shows. Because I was, the first couple of shows we did last week, I was just fired up, man. It's almost like they sense that. You guys notice that? Like they sense when I'm fired up or they sense when I'm really, on top of my game, and then that's when they run these denial of service attacks, That sucks. There's just no way to sugarcoat that. It just flat fucking sucks. but that's the kind of games he's got to play. But and again, that does that really hurts. That hurts our ability to be able to get our work done. Yeah, I just I can't afford to pay for another stream and have a backup one if this one goes down. But again, this one does have a backup, but must have been extenuating circumstances this time. So the chip and banner's there for the month for the bills, and also the donate button there if you want to make larger amounts or whatever else. Please help us out, and we're down to just a couple of dollars in the bank right now. So please help us out if you can. News. Where do I want to begin tonight? There's a bunch. Let's start with this one. Pyramid. This was from Discovery News. Pyramid hieroglyphs likely engineering numbers. Now this very interesting stuff here, because what immediately popped off in my head as soon as I saw this article, I'll drop a link to it in the chat room for you. We had been more recently over the past several months talked more about the mysterious rock wall in Rockwall, Texas. And I'm still fired up, Stargate to Eden. Don't worry. I'm not gonna slow my roll. I'm fucking fired up. Have been, I guess, over the past just couple of weeks after everything that's gone on in my life. You got, I guess you gotta focus that stuff somewhere. The Demigods were on fire tonight too. We're rehearsing tonight we've got art and music festival coming up this weekend. We're playing 2 shows and 2 sets in one day, like one at 1 o'clock, one at 6 or one at 5 o'clock, something like that. Pretty awesome. We're expecting 5,000 plus people. I mean, it's it's a big, big show. It's pretty cool. It's going to be awesome. I can't wait. But yeah, we were pretty fired up tonight ourselves. But we've been talking more about the ancient rock wall again. And that just feels like, to me, I keep getting these little hints and indicators and things, It just feels like that's where I should go next with my research and my movies. Because I want to do something in the next film that I make. I want to do something completely different than what I've done before. Somebody sent me an email and asked me about See Right 2. Have I set a release date? And this, you know what? I got to be honest with you. I have not set a release date for it. I was challenged by one of our listeners to get it out by July 1st. And I'm still going to do everything in my power that I can to do that. But may hurt me bad. It hurt every chance I had of trying to stick with that date because of, multiple deaths in the family and having to deal with it even just before, you sort of innately know before things like that are going to happen, And I think I sort of did, and it was sort of, and I couldn't get focused even for the few weeks before my uncle, my father passed away within a week of each other. I was something like I sensed it, But I just put me behind really bad on. I mean, I was going good. Pace was coming along. My release date was, looking over the horizon, and then that happened, and it just, it put me behind. So, it probably looking like what it's going to be is it's probably going to be, because I lost 2 weeks, essentially. It's looking like the release on Secret Right 2 is probably going to end up being, realistically, 2 weeks, probably 2 weeks after, 2 weeks into July. Because again, July 1st was the thing I had set, but losing 2 weeks in there, that I hope my person, I'll just tell you, his name's Scott. Scott, you know who you are. Made that deal with me. Scott, I hope you understand that. I hope you'll not hold that against me or anything for taking, because I was doing everything I could in my powers. Really, I enjoyed that. It was an awesome thing that he did for me, doing that. Making a donation, challenging me with that date. It really did. It really was a great thing for me. I appreciate him doing that. It was a big thing as a person for him to do, and a big thing for me as a person to accept, because it's a challenge. I wish I wish more people would do that. I mean, my God, if somebody came to me and said, "Here's $10,000, make a film." Oh my God, I'd bust ass and make the most unbelievable film you would imagine. You know, that's that I can, you know, that's the whole kind of thing. And that was really what he doing that did. And, you know, I just hope he doesn't hold that against me for, you know, it's going to take me I got to make up that 2 weeks somewhere. So it's probably going to be 2 weeks into that. But I really want to get back into the rock wall thing. I really want to get into looking at that. And again, I keep seeing these little indicators, getting these little signs, you know, that that is what I should do. And I talked about these 3.5 ton stones that were found on the Wade farm when they originally had found and located the ancient rock wall. And they mysteriously disappeared, but they had these hieroglyphs on them. They were red inked hieroglyphs. And they looked remarkably similar to things that had been seen in Egyptian hieroglyphs, also in like Saco Canyon in Utah, places like that. Some Aborigine, and also Mesoamerican as well, I guess Aztec type writing as well. But these 3.5 stone blocks that have these hieroglyphs on the ancient rock wall were comprised almost entirely of garnet. Garnet's not really a rock it's not a rock that's found around here in this neck of the woods in Texas, you know. But it was in the old Rockwall Courthouse. And then, of course, when we found out subsequently that it now is in the home of 33rd degree Freemason, Council for National Policy member, Congressman Ralph Hall there. And I was blown away when I saw this article here out of Discovery News that that really, as soon as I saw it, I was just like, that looks remarkably similar to what we saw on these garnet rocks that were a part of the rock wall. And so if you look in that link that I dropped in the chat room, there's a picture there on the left. If you pull up those pictures online and we research the rock wall, you'll see the pictures of that big stone rock. These hieroglyphs look remarkably similar, ladies and gentlemen. Listen to this. Markings in red paint found within the Great Pyramid by a camera-toting robot are likely numerals used by builders. They're saying these could have been like, you know, things that the people who built them put on there. And I saw these same sort of red markings on these garnet rocks of the rock wall. Mysterious hieroglyphs written in red paint on the floor of a hidden chamber in Egypt's Great Pyramid of Giza are just numbers, according to a mathematical analysis of the 4,500-year-old mausoleum. Shown to the world last month when the first report of a robot exploration of the Great Pyramid was published, the images revealed features that have not been seen by human eyes since the construction of the monument. Researchers were particularly intrigued by 3 red ochre figures painted on the door of a hidden chamber at the end of a tunnel deep inside the pyramid. There are many unanswered questions that these images raise. Rob Richardson, the engineer who designed the robot at the University of Leeds, told Discovery News, "Why is there writing in this space? What does this writing say? There appears to be a masonry cutting mark next to the figures. Why was it not cut along this line?" Richardson wondered. Well, then, if it's a masonry cutting mark, that means that tells you right there it wasn't cut along that line because it wasn't a masonry mark. It was something else. Hello? But seriously, those are identical markings, almost identical to a T of what was found on the ancient rock wall. So if those markings are in Egypt and those markings are in the ancient rock wall, I think it stands to reason, Congressman Ralph Hall, you got some splaining to do. Because, you know, he's had this rock longer than anybody's known that these markings in Egypt in this secret corridor exist, allegedly. But it certainly doesn't make it sit any well with you when you understand that this 33rd degree Freemason or 32nd degree Freemason, you can go to Rockwall, you can type East Fork Trinity Lodge Freemasons Lodge into Google, and it'll come up, and that's the local little lodge there in Rockwall, Texas. It's built right on top of one of the domed rock rooms underground. The Mason, it's right across the street from Congressman Ralph Hall's office, which is also right across the street from where they have the representation of the rock wall built out of actual stones from the wall. And you can see fucking quartz crystals sticking out of these rocks that they claim is a natural formation, even though there isn't any kind of quartz crystal around this area. So why does this, again, you look at the connection to the Egyptians, Freemasonry. So it doesn't look very well that this Republican congressman who's a Freemason has this ancient stone rock, which just happens to have ink writing on it in the same color that appears on stones that have now been found in a secret long-lost chamber in Egypt. So it's definitely something. I'll try to get comparison. I'll get those pictures up, and maybe I'll try to write an article about that or something at some point. It should be something that gets out there to people, I believe. Let's see what else we have here. Now we got a bunch of stuff. Deadly fungus strikes Joplin tornado survivors. This I saw this immediately and went, "Oh my God!" Yeah, I mean, I bet it did. Those storms when they happened, man, they were pure weather mod ops. Pure weather mod ops. And so all the people that were in those, I mean, listen to this. The Greene County, Missouri Health Department has issued a memo to healthcare workers who are treating injured victims of May's deadly Joplin tornado, warning them that a powerful fungus has infected patients' wounds. The Springfield News Leader reports as many as 9 cases have been reported in tornado victims across the area in various hospitals. Once the aggressive fungus called zychomycosis. Oh my God, mycosis. Mycoplasma. That's the stuff they found in chemtrails. This is 100% caused by chemtrails. Once zychomycosis enters the body, it causes the death of the infected cells. 3 or 4 patients who otherwise would have survived their wounds have died from it. If the fungus stays in a limb, like an arm or a leg, some treatments have necessitated amputation to save the patient. Others with wounds near the head weren't so lucky. As soon as brain tissue started dying, it was too late to save the patient. I mean, this is the same kind of mysterious respiratory illnesses and things they found in people who have been victims of this chemtrail sickness. Selenium. Get yourself some selenium, man. Get that barium right out of your system. What else do we have here? Oh, this is I mentioned earlier that people are freaking out on this whole Comet Elenin thing. And a press release by NASA has also added fuel to that fire. Listen to this. NASA headquarters emergency operations, family and personal preparedness, they released a video. A major initiative has been placed on family and personal preparedness for all NASA personnel. The NASA Family Personal Preparedness Program is designed to provide awareness, resources, and tools to the NASA family, civil servants, and contractors to prepare for an emergency situation. The most important assets in the successful completion of NASA's mission are our employees and their families. We're taking steps to prepare our workforce, but it is your personal obligation to prepare yourself and your families for emergencies. And so they're creating this initiative trying to get NASA employees to be prepared for disasters happening. Well, this has thrown a lot of fuel on the fire, with NASA coincidentally coming out with the Jet Propulsion Laboratory information concerning, this Comet Elenin and people thinking it's Nibiru. Let me try and find that article. Oh, here it is. This is from a website called UFO Connection 2012. And I'm reading this I guess I need to make that clear now every time I read anything on my show. But I've said it a million times. Let me make it clear one more time. Just because I read something on my show does not always necessarily mean that I endorse it or believe in it. And this is a good example of that. I'm reading this strictly for the fact that I want you to see an example of what I was talking about at the beginning of the show tonight, of the things that I have seen going around the internet concerning massive panic and the widespread belief that the comet Elenin is actually Nibiru, the destroyer star, the black hole sun, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So let's read this. Bad news from NASA. This is going to be the most extraordinary communication, so fasten your seatbelts. We are in for a rough ride. I have known in my heart for months that I would have to make a communication like this, but had no idea that it would be this soon. Back in January, while investigating the underground city that is alleged to have been built under the new Denver airport, reported by the former Governor Jesse Ventura, I put the puzzle together and came to the conclusion that a planetary event was in store for us in 2012. Today, I'm presenting rock-solid information. It does not get any better when NASA is your source. What you are about to read and see is happening. Well, I wouldn't give NASA any credit for anything, but never a straight answer. They've never told the truth about a goddamn thing. So I wouldn't expect to believe that their Comet Elenin information would be accurate either. What you're about to read and see is happening. Last night, looking at a NASA mathematical model of Comet Elenin. Oh, I wanted to mention that NASA mathematical model of Comet Elenin. When I looked at it last week and talked about it on the show, it showed a trajectory of that Comet Elenin passing right through the middle of Venus. They have subsequently, ladies and gentlemen, scrubbed that from their mathematical model of the Comet Elenin. It shows it going past Venus. Now, last week when I looked at it and covered it here on the show, it went right through the middle of it. Isn't that interesting? So I think that would lead us to believe that the path this thing is truly on and the path that they're telling us it is on are two different things. I mean, we need somebody out there with access to, hard astronomical data or access to a observatory where, somebody can zero in on this Comet Elenin and maybe, trying to get some grassroots pictures of the info on this thing. Anybody out there, I'm putting the open call. If anybody out there has access to a observatory or anything else like that, please try to find out what you can. Get some hard data on Comet Elenin and send it to me. globalrealityshow@gmail.com. I found that a large celestial body has already penetrated the solar system and is on a course for near impossible horrific encounter with the Earth in the fall of 2011. What we do not know is the size and mass of Comet Elenin, although I have no doubt that it is known by the authorities. Elenin is presently being tracked as it goes through the asteroid belt on its way into the inner solar system. I am truly sorry to have to be the bearer of such grave and threatening news, but the source, NASA, is impeccable. See, you see what I mean? Yeah. The NASA source is impeccable. Well, that right there would tell me to be skeptical of it. I wouldn't believe a goddamn thing NASA ever said about anything. Never a straight answer. That's what NASA means. It's the truth. These motherfuckers have lied about everything since time immemorial while single-handedly working in conjunction with Nazis. I mean, if you haven't done your research about that, but yet you're going to come to these, shocking revelation conclusions that, about Nibiru and Planet X, I would have to be skeptical of someone like that. Because it's very hard to take someone telling you, Nibiru, the destroyer, is coming, while at the same time they're telling you NASA, the source of, NASA as a source of information is impeccable. That's an absolute lie. Anybody with any researcher or anybody with half a brain, for that matter, knows anything NASA says is bullshit. So, again, you see why I have a problem with this. But, again, I'm not reading this because I agree with it. I'm reading it because, I wanted to give you an example of what people are saying about this thing. It's important that we know what people are saying, what people are believing. Doesn't mean we have to believe it, but knowing that this is going on, there's a widespread belief and this is going on, we need to be paying attention. We have an incoming mass, what might possibly be a neutron star coming in, and it will do a hard turn around the sun like any comet would, crossing and coming in between Mercury and Venus before starting its journey back out. On its way out, it will cross our bow, meaning it will pass very close to the Earth, and the Earth will pass behind it, plowing into its tail. In the video below, you will see this explained graphically. What you will see is the mathematical precision is that every time that this celestial body comes into alignment with the Earth and Sun, we have a huge earthquake. The last three alignments produced the Japanese 9.0 quake, the one in New Zealand, and the one before that in Chile. So remember what I told you guys? About, being careful about blaming everything on HAARP, that it could be something besides HAARP, but that, the Truth Movement, the Patriot Movement wants to put out the red herring and just, it's HAARP, it's HAARP, it's HAARP. The leader having weather wars when indeed it could be something else. That's what I was saying, Not saying you have to believe in the destroyer star Planet X. I'm not saying not believe that either. But what I'm saying is that, I think that we'd all agree that the sort of the HAARP thing is, yes, HAARP is real. Yes, they are using HAARP. Yes, they can produce earthquakes with HAARP remotely. Yes, they can control our minds with HAARP remotely. But, every time a dog farts in Kansas and there's an earthquake and people yell HAARP, we can't say for 100% certainty that every time it actually is HAARP. And again, I think there's a lot of evidence there may be things within our planetary system or things that have entered our planetary system or things that happen in these alignments that cause these earthquakes and these devastations to happen. On March 11th, Elenin was much further out. When the next alignment happens, it will be devastatingly close. The main point to understand is that if Elenin was just a normal comet, it would not have the mass to generate a gravity pull that would affect the Earth when the Earth swings around into alignment. David Morrison, astrobiology senior scientist at NASA, in an official communication on March 1st, acknowledged no threat from Elenin. 10 days later, Elenin came into alignment with the Earth and the Sun, and Japan was almost destroyed. Morrison confirmed that Elenin's perihelion is in early September 2011 at a distance of the Sun of 40 to 45 million miles. He said it will be closest to the Earth at about October 16th at a distance of about 21 miles. But he believes there is no reason to think that Elenin is any different from a normal comet. You guys remember that movie Maximum Overdrive? It was like a Stephen King short story. Remember that? Great fucking movie. AC/DC did the soundtrack for it. It had Emilio Estevez in it. Remember that? All the machines went haywire and crazy and killed everybody. Remember that? And throughout the movie, they kept saying that it was caused by this comet that came by Earth, right? Well, what's interesting is if you watch that movie, they keep referring to it as a comet that caused all this to happen. Well, at the very end of the movie, they show text on the screen, and it's kind of explaining what happens in the story afterwards, and it talks about how it wasn't a comet. They just used it as a cover story. It was actually a UFO, and the United States military shot it down with space-based weapons. It literally says that at the end of that movie. And it always seemed odd to me. I was like, well, that was kind of weird. What was the point in that? What was the point? What was Stephen King trying to get across to us by being very, very premeditated about putting that as an element in the story where, it's a comet, it's a comet. The reason all this haywire craziness with all these machines is happening is a comet. And then at the very end, when it's over, you find out, no, it wasn't a comet, it was a UFO, and we shot it down with space-based weapons. That seemed a little bit weird to anybody else. That would just be something he would, feel the need to throw in there. Oh, I lost my place. Let me give me a second here. It says that he dismisses everything alarming with Comet Elenin as pure fiction. This is the real deal, though, that alignment did happen, as we can clearly see from the NASA simulation. Now that we have to live with increasing radiation spreading around the northern hemisphere, we know how easy it is for people in authority to cover up information in line with a straight face. The Japanese government admitted it kept secret at least 5,000 radiation measurements and assessments after the nuclear event that struck the Fukushima Daiichi NPP in March. This was done in order to not induce panic in the population. A representative of the staff dealing with the nuclear emergency told the ITAR TASS, "We have to acknowledge and accept that there is a danger and a possibility that part of our civilization and the people in it will be lost. This is not a time to deny anything or a time to hold back the tears. I hope to God that I'm wrong, but the evidence cannot be dismissed casually, although of course it will be. One picture is worth 1,000 words. And NASA has given us visible proof to suggest Elenin is playing a role in events down here on our planet, even from a long distance. It is not a time for fear, rather it was a time for love and cooperation in the context of preparation on all levels for what is to come." I agree with that. There is a history to Elenin that has been visible for years, but now she is upon us, and there's nothing we can do but prepare and pray and love like we have never loved before. I'm down with that. Any ladies out there? Any takers? Any single ladies out there? Any single ladies want to love like they'd never loved before? Hey, we only got till October. Let's do it. Fuck it. Come on, bring it. I'm now accepting applications for groupies, ladies. Yes, you heard it here first. Love like you've never loved before. I'm down. Let's do it. Fuck it. Come on, bring it on. Bring them in here. Line them up at the door. Fuck it. we have to acknowledge and accept that there was a danger and there's a possibility that part of our civilization and the people in it will be lost. The below video displays what has been known by NASA for decades. The whole solar system seems to be heating up. The sun is becoming active. And Earth-changing events are becoming more frequent and intense with beyond worst-case scenario climate changes hitting around the globe. We have increasing geoactivity, volcanoes, earthquakes, rogue tides, sinking islands, magnetic pole migration, mass animal deaths, huge unexplained whirlpools in the Atlantic, and so much more. It would make anyone's head spin. We were tipped off to something unusual happening when Greenland experienced sunrise 2 days early. Yeah, we covered that here on the show when it happened, which was a strong sign that something was off on our Earth's orbit, as well as, we seem to be losing our magnetic field, or our magnetic field is being affected, because remember all the stories we had, the birds, and the birds dying, the bird die off, the fish die off, also the repainting of the lines on the airports and stuff like that. And the sun rising 2 days early is no small occurrence. It's not something easy to make up. It is not being reported as expected in the mainstream press, and only wild and stupid theories like global warming are being blamed for the event. On August 3rd, 2011, it marks the time that the Earth passes through the brown dwarf perigee position while the brown dwarf is crossing the Earth's orbit. About 2 weeks pass, and on August 18th, the brown dwarf crosses the Venus orbit some 67 million miles from the sun. Then 24 days pass to when the brown dwarf reaches the nearest point to the sun at 44.73 million miles. September 25th, 2011 marks the time that the Earth passes through the second conjunction with the sun, the brown dwarf Mercury, Saturn, and Uranus in line for another gravitational alignment. October 2nd is the day that the brown dwarf crosses Venus's orbit again and begins tracking in the direction of Earth. 2 weeks go by and the brown dwarf crosses the Earth orbit line to pass directly in front of our planet at just 22.3 million miles away. I'm sorry, I got to stop right there. I just reminded me of something when it talked about the brown dwarf crossing Venus's orbit and all this stuff. I think that there is something to this, but I don't think I want to make that clear. I don't think this is Nibiru. I think this is Vulcan. I think this is what we've heard about and talked about. And here's the distinction. Here's the difference. You may ask me, well, Josh, why have they told us that it's Nibiru and all this stuff, blah, 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 the destroyer star, as the red herring to not tell us about Vulcan? Well, there's a very good reason for that, and I need to point that out, and I don't think I have yet, and so I need to do that while I'm thinking about it here. The reason that is because, well, for one, again, Vulcan doesn't fit in with the whole 2012 Mayan calendar, long calendar type of scenario that everybody has associated with the return of Nibiru, in which subsequently also includes, let's not forget, the alleged return of the Anunnaki, correct? Well, Vulcan is not the famed Planet X and is also not the famed home of the Anunnaki. So its effects would affect us in the exact same way they're describing here, to a T. It would affect our magnetic field. It would cause earthquakes. But it would not signal the return of the Anunnaki. So I believe that this is why that they have chosen to call Elenin, which is actually Vulcan, and probably quite possibly is actually a brown dwarf that is in an orbit that we normally can't see, very well could be the ancient remnant of the ancient sun that used to exist in our atmosphere. Or in our solar, not in our atmosphere, but the other sun that used to exist in our solar system. Because again, binary star systems are the norm. Single star systems are, you can't find another one. Most of them are binary. And so there's a lot of belief that that's what actually this comet Elenin is brown dwarf. And yes, it's going to come close to Earth. And yes, it's probably going to cause cataclysms and things of that nature. But it's not going to signal the return of the Anunnaki. And it's just not the same as what people have described as Nibiru and the rest of this stuff. So I think what I'm saying is that there's cognitive dissonance going on. Things are being sort of, meshed together and turned into a big stew and amalgamated together and sort of made, one sort of narrative. You know what I mean? They're taking the narrative of Nibiru and the Anunnaki, and they're taking the narrative of, the brown dwarf and all this other stuff and mixing that together. So again, I think that there is something to this Comet Elenin thing. I think you may very well cause things to happen on Earth, but I don't believe that it's the Nibiru, the destroyer that's been talked about, and the Anunnaki. I don't think it's the same thing, but I think there's a massive campaign to try and get us to believe that it is. The science puzzle with no solution. This comes from the Daily Mail. Scientists unearthed thousands of figurines broken in mysterious Bronze Age ritual. When archaeologists unearthed this treasure trove in Bronze Age artifacts, they must have thought that they had hit the jackpot. However, upon closer inspection, the find seemed more like an ancient jigsaw puzzle with no solution. Thousands of broken figurines, none of which fit together. Now, researchers believe the mysterious figurines, which were crafted and then deliberately broken, are evidence of a Bronze Age ritual. It is thought that the mysterious rite took place about 4,500 years ago on the Aegean island of Keros, recently excavated by the Cambridge Keros Project. It was originally thought that the island may have been an ancient burial site trashed by looters, but following decades of research, a more surprising story has emerged. And there seems to be, again, more interesting archaeological discoveries. Let's see what else we have here. Kind of really done with the news, to be honest with you. Oh, Harold Camping, the rapture prediction. You guys hear about this? Oh, he suffered a stroke. So maybe he's going to get raptured out before the whole thing goes down. Big lunar eclipse coming up Wednesday night. I hope you guys are ready for that. Some massive energy going around there. It's going to be Moonbatty that night, tell you for sure. So you guys say they're going to look for Osama's fucking corpse underwater? That's too much. They discovered Gandhi's face on the moon. On Mars. You guys hear about that? Yeah, allegedly they found some new outcropping on Mars that looks remarkably similar to Mahatma Gandhi. But I saw Elvis in my toast this morning, so maybe if maybe it's I don't know, but it is. I'm joking, but it is funny. It is kind of strange. Actually, they got a picture there. It does kind of look like. It does kind of look like him. All right, let's see what else we have here in the news. They're cracking down on the sovereign citizens movement here in Texas. The Bandera County Sheriff's Office issued a warning Thursday to citizens about an anti-government movement known for acts of domestic terrorism. The law enforcement agency said followers of the sovereign citizens movement have been known to carry out violent acts, including killing law enforcement officers and other public servants. The sheriff's office told KSAT 12 News that the warning was prompted by the recent shooting death of Bexar County Sheriff's Deputy Sergeant Kenneth Vann. We have domestic terrorism right at our doorstep. So here they are. They're ramping up these militia groups and these sovereign citizens movements, these patriot groups. Here they are, already ramping them up as domestic terrorists. The next big thing that happens is going to that's what it's going to be. I believe that for a long time. It's going to be either an assassination attempt by a teabagger or an assassination attempt by one of these sovereign citizens of the patriot movement or sovereign Kool-Aid drinkers of Alex Jones. It's going to. I've been saying that since 2008. I'm standing by that. It's going to happen eventually, and that's what's going to that's going to be the spark that they use to attempt to spark civil unrest and civil war. But again, that's why I think that this rock wall research is important. Because that's going to be that's going to thing that could really change the game in this whole thing. All right. Well, I'm done with the news tonight. I don't think we have any more emails here. I'll look real quick. No, don't see any more emails. But we'll take a break, come back, and we'll get into reading some from William Bramley tonight. Gods of Eden. Hope you're drinking plenty of coffee out there. Staying up late with us here tonight. We're getting Moonbatty, that's for damn sure. This is, oh yeah, back here with you on the Global Reality, right here on the Global Reality Radio Network. I'm your host, Josh Reeves. Thanks for being with us for this late night Moonbat edition of the broadcast. So glad you could join us, folks, and I'm glad to be back with you after all of the chicanery and crazy shit we had going on last week with denial of service attacks on our stream and whatever was going on with the website. I don't totally know for sure. I know it affected Lee Rogers and Oracle and some of those guys over there, but glad to be back with you here tonight, and looking forward to getting back into the Gods of Eden with you here tonight. Chapter 39, Escape from Eden. So we'll jump right into that. Again, please donate if you can right now. Just need your support. And Chippy Man donate button there. I just not having the shows last week, was put a damper on us. So thanks to everybody out there who continues to support us and stick around and get the word out. And getting the shows out on YouTube and stuff has done a great service to our listenership. So I think all the people out there, Illuminated Scam, and everybody out there who makes clips and continues to tell people about my work and my show. Thank you so much. I salute all of you. You're just amazing people. You're more than that. You're the shit. Yeah, that's the truth. All right, chapter 39, Escape from Eden tonight. It is natural for people to wonder how they might be able to improve the world around them. A widespread misconception is that to be effective, a person must be either rich, a politician, or a saint. The truth is, one can successfully take responsibility for oneself and for one's fellow humans from exactly where one is without greatly disrupting one's life or livelihood. One may begin doing this gradually by first improving one's own life, then by giving help to family and friends where it is wanted, then by joining or starting groups with laudable social goals, and finally by pursuing a sense of direct personal responsibility for the human race. It is important that more people begin this process, as history has clearly shown us if you do not create your own surroundings, someone else is going to create them for you, and you may not like what you get. That's absolutely true. Major constructive changes to our world actually do not require much to bring about. As a specific example, the inflatable paper money system, which continues to create indebtedness and instability at every level, can easily be replaced with a stable monetary system by merely ending bank-created money and setting up a system whereby money is issued by national governments in proportion to their gross national products and dispersed without engendering debt. Banks could continue to participate in the system by being the conduit for the release and circulation of the money, but banks could no longer create money on their own. Governments would no longer need to tax anyone or borrow. They could simply allocate to themselves the money they needed to operate within limits imposed by their gross national products. Under this plan, all debts owed to banks could be instantly forgiven. Banks could be paid by the government for their services in dispersing and circulating the money, and by consumers for consumer services. The custodial society itself presents us with an extraordinary challenge. As we have seen, to reduce the human ability to meet the challenge by occluding the subject of UFOs and spiritual phenomena with false reports, dubious evidence, obfuscating explanations, and hoaxes is to do grave potential damage to the future prospects of the human race. At this time, scrupulous honesty from all sides is needed. If Earth is indeed owned by an oppressive extraterrestrial society, then there must exist somewhere communication lines between human beings and the custodial society. I am not talking about alleged telepathic communication. I am speaking of face-to-face contact between humans and custodians. Part of the solution would be to find those communication channels and use them to begin negotiating an end to the pain and suffering on Earth. This proposal may sound utterly wild, as it would mean trying to start a process of diplomacy with an extraterrestrial society which most governments do not even admit the existence of in order to win the freedom of the human race. A race which most people would deny is even imprisoned. On the other hand, some people might argue that such negotiations would be as futile as San Quentin prisoners trying to negotiate their freedom with a warden, or Nazi concentration camp inmates trying to bargain with their SS guards. The custodial society would need to be assured that the human race desires no revenge or political upheaval. Mankind seeks only an opportunity to work out its promised salvation, and the human race would share its successes with the custodial society. The goal would be to let bygones be bygones and to get on with the future. In the meantime, the problem of human warfare can be addressed directly. It should be clear that there is no true security during any state of war, hot or cold. People speak of nuclear disarmament, but why bother making a small reduction in nuclear arsenals when chemical and biological weapons are produced in greater number? Fortunately, many people understand that true national security is achieved only through friendship and peace. Ask any American if they feel threatened militarily by Canada, or any of the most paranoid Canadian the same question about America. Both nations feel a sense of security not because they are pointing hair-trigger weaponry at one another, but because they enjoy a basic state of friendship. In Europe, one does not find the nation of Belgium bankrupting its treasury to arm itself against the Dutch peril, or the Dutch arming itself to the teeth against the French threat. Reliance on weapons, espionage, propaganda, and other tools of war to achieve national security will inevitably fail. Sooner or later, someone is going to build a better bomb or find a way to get around yours. They will recruit a better spy or will tell a more convincing lie. No one's security should have to rely on such shenanigans. There are many people today throughout the world who are striving to create security through friendship. These people have not been able to overcome several major hurdles. World leaders have their ears bent by intelligence agencies which promote a chronic climate of fear and danger through secret briefings, alarming reports, and grim scenarios. As long as artificial philosophical differences exist between national leaders, those leaders will not be able to think and communicate rationally with one another. If national leaders are convinced that a great utopia will arise if they maintain their side of the struggle, there will never be peace. Peace will only arrive if our leaders are willing to drop their great apocalyptic struggles and join the rest of humanity in a single pact of friendship. The first thing that people can do to bring about human freedom is to become aware of all of the small freedoms that they have expanded upon them. In our world, there's a great deal of emphasis on broad and gigantic social and political spiritual freedoms. But many people find it difficult to exercise even the smallest freedoms, such as simply expressing a fact or opinion in a social circle. Yeah, people are still afraid to go up and tell people, about this stuff and talk about it with them. And you just shouldn't be anymore. You just shouldn't be. Get up in their comfortable little world. Make them sweat a little bit. Make them feel uncomfortable. Look like, the kook at the table just one day. Try it. You'd be surprised how great you feel when you do it, when you shake them up a little bit, get in their comfortable little world and say, hey, just because you got your nose, tuned into the boob tube any night doesn't make this information any less real. Look into this book, look into this or that, look at this website, go Google search this, look something up, and see for yourself. We don't have any time left to just let people be idiots anymore. We got to get in there and shake them up. I just, and I'm that way now, man. I just won't even fuck it. I won't even get in arguments with people about this anymore. I just go, you know what, dude? You just go on about your business. I'm going to go on about mine. You go and have a nice life and go ahead and stick your head in the sand like a goddamn ostrich and have fun with that. Because I just don't have time to argue with these idiots anymore. You either see it or you don't. If you don't see it, you're dead already and fuck you. You weren't going to help anyway. You're going to be another one of these bottom feeders, people that suck off the system and live off the system. So, of course, you don't want to wake up to anything that might be wrong about that system because, you're sucking off the teat of it. Because you went to college and you think that you're smarter than everybody else. And that if this stuff was real, you would have heard about it in college. Bunch of twits. The irony is that broad sweeping freedoms really exist so that people may enjoy all of the small freedoms that make existence worthwhile. one can begin enjoying those small freedoms simply by exercising them. And that's something I've talked about here on my show a lot through the years. We sit around and, a lot of people, not so much what we do here on this show, but a lot of type of truth radio and, let's say Patriot radio type stuff. They sit around all day and bitch and piss and moan about what freedoms they don't have. The ones they do, they're not exercising. And a lot of these things we self-impose on ourselves. Like certain words you're not supposed to say. Like nigger. You're not supposed to say the word nigger ever. Even if you're referencing the word. I got people get mad at me because I was using it and referencing the word somebody else was using it. Just saying, you're not supposed to say it. Even if you're just using the word as an example of this is a word, it exists in the language. Even if you're not using it as an epithet against someone, but strictly even saying the word is now considered absolutely, positively wrong. How did we get to that? That's self-imposed. So we have to begin to try and get a better hold on what chains are being imposed by the elite, by the New World Order, by the Illuminati, by the custodians, and what chains on our mind are being held there by us, by ourselves. Because we're buying into some bullshit morality or some bullshit version of what we're taught to believe is the right thing to do or not do, you see. As more and more people begin to simply exercise the freedoms that they do have, freedoms for all will expand. It therefore follows that sacrificing smaller freedoms in the name of achieving broader freedoms will actually cause all freedoms to be lost. Yes, we've seen that. Perhaps the greatest hope lies in the fact that all spiritual beings, whether they animate human bodies, custodial bodies, or none at all, appear to be very similar in basic emotional makeup. There seems to be a core of good and decency within every individual, including within the most malevolent despots that can ultimately be reached, although reaching it in some people can admittedly be a difficult undertaking. With persistence, intelligence, and compassion, it may yet be possible to bring a resolution to all that we have looked at in this book in a manner that will leave everyone happy. There are plenty of additional problems to be solved in our world. Now it is your turn to dream up solutions. Once you have thought them up, communicate them and act on them. What you think, what you perceive, and how you view the world around you is extremely important because you have an inherently unique perspective not shared by anyone else, which is exactly why I started doing my show. It's almost been 4 years now. That's pretty amazing. Give it up for me, give it up for you, all our supporters out there. This is what I'm supposed to be doing. When I discovered that, I could not stop doing it. That's how it is when you discover what you're supposed to be doing. This is what I'm supposed to be doing is that exact thing right there. Not trying to, pose around and strut around like a peacock and act like I'm the keeper of all the knowledge and I know everything there is to know. The person that strolls up to you like that, you need to run away from immediately anyway. But it is because I have a unique perspective not shared by anybody else, and I felt it needed to get out there. Say what you have to say, discover what you want to discover, and pursue those humanitarian goals within you. It could help us all. That's the end of chapter 39, and chapter 40 is a little longer. I'm not going to get into it. I'm just going to read the first paragraph of chapter 40 tonight. And then tomorrow's show we'll pick up on the rest of chapter 40 here. But chapter 40 is entitled The Nature of a Supreme Being. I'd like to read just the beginning of this for you if I could. Before bidding you adieu, there is one last subject for me to touch on. It is a topic which has been lurking in the background of this entire book, but one which I have successfully avoided thus far. It is the subject of a supreme being. Does a supreme being of some kind exist? If it does, what is its relationship to life on earth and to the things that we have discussed in this book? I will try to tackle these questions, But be forewarned that this chapter is the most speculative and philosophical in the book. My discussion will be a simplified one, and it is not intended to be definitive. I advise the reader to consult other sources for more information. If this is not to your liking, then please feel free to proceed to the next and final chapter. So so again, bear that in mind, keep that in mind there. It's going to sort of saying what, and that's the way it is with everybody. You got to look into everything for yourself. There is not one single person on the face of the planet that has the ability to be able to tell you everything that it is possible for you to know about this information. I've tried my damnedest, I've tried my damnedest to get up here and do and I do that, and I've always done that. That's what I always will continue to do, is to just get up here and blurt out as much of this stuff as I can for you on the microphone and on the archive, so we can have it for posterity, so it'll be there. We all change the world in our own little way. Nobody's expecting you to single-handedly change the world. Nobody's single-handedly expecting me to change the world or anybody else, but we all change the world in our own little ways. And, I've had an effect on people. I don't take enough time sometimes. It's one of my big faults. And I could probably be a lot more successful if I did this, but I'm humble to a fault, because I'm just one of those people that doesn't think that anything I do is ever, as good as it could be. I'm not a control freak perfectionist, but I'm just, I was always feeling like everything I do could be better. But, people have, and I'm just not real big on give myself props. But a lot of you made me feel really good over the past, month or so of the stuff I've been going through, and kind words, and, telling me how much that I mean to you and how much my work means to you. And that means the world to me, because, people have told me I've changed your life. Multiple people, hey, man, you've changed my life. I'm not the same person I was before I met you. Thank you. People I know personally, people, listeners, stuff like that. And that's, in my own little specific way right there, I changed the world. By first changing the world for myself, which in turn allowed me to change the world for somebody else, because I changed the world for me first. I changed my world. I changed the way I looked at it. I changed the way I operated in it. I changed the way I thought about it. And so those changes first in myself, then subsequently allowed the fruits of that, for me to, inspire somebody else to look, or, giving them a piece of information, or change the way they look at something, or whatever else. And that's what we all have to do. That's how the world changes, not by bloody revolutions and by staged things that the elite want to happen so they can control it. But revolutions happen by everybody just doing something that affects something else, and we all affect each other. That's the great thing about music and about words and film and everything else, is that if you really do something with conviction and really put your heart and your soul into it, and everything that you believe into it, that's going to resonate. That's going to come across. It doesn't matter if you have, a low budget to create a movie like I have or something, or a big budget. What matters is that, the intent behind it. And that's going to resonate with people. When people see that you are really doing something for a real place, it resonates with them. It makes them want to do it too. So to me, that's one of the big solutions. That's what we have to continue to push for. And, I hope that you out there will continue to support me in my quest to do that. And thank you to those that do. My website is theglobalreality.com. It's www.theglobalreality.com. My email address is globalrealityshow@gmail.com. At the website, theglobalreality.com. The chip-in banner is there for the bills for the month. Please chip in on the banner if you can help us out there, or use the donate button. If you want to donate larger amounts, multiple hundreds of dollars, or even $1,000 or more, or whatever, always use the donate button for that, not the chip-in banner, so we can just keep that, empty for the bills and stuff that we need every month. Well, thank you so much, everybody. Glad you all could be with us tonight. My name is Josh Reeves. I love each and every one of you. We'll see you next time for the broadcast. You guys have a great night. Take care.